What's going on, everybody, and welcome to another Pokemon Theory. In these videos, I like to take a look at some of the interesting theories and mysteries that exist in the Pokemon world. From what possibly happened in the Strange House to potential reasons why the Reggies were created, I like to dive into all of the theories about Pokemon lore that exist in this franchise's vast universe. For today's video, I actually wanted to try something a little bit different from other theory videos I've done. Rather than just having one theory in this video and going super in depth on it like I usually do, I wanted to try sort of a speed theory format and talk about 3 different Team Rocket theories in 8 minutes. Lots of people have said my theory videos go on too long, and so I thought I'd try mixing up the format a little bit and just seeing how it goes. Of course, with this type of video, there's a couple things worth mentioning before we jump in. The first is that due to this video having multiple theories in such a small time frame, I'm going to be going over the theories relatively fast and won't be going super in depth with them. I'm going to talk about the main points that make up these theories and any other larger pieces of info that I feel are relevant to them, but I won't be able to cover everything. So if you're expecting a deep and comprehensive analysis on some of these theories, I'm afraid you might be a little bit disappointed. Many other people on YouTube have made more in-depth videos on some of these theories, and that brings me to the second note I want to bring up, which is that most of these theories have been covered thoroughly by other people before. I've tried especially hard to add my own research and extrapolate on these theories the best that I can, so hopefully there will still be something of value here even if you've heard all these theories before. That being said, feel free to check out the description for a list of people who have covered a couple of the theories I'll be talking about today and go see their versions of some of these ideas. Okay, here we go. Time on. Theory 1. Giovanni is actually a good guy. I remember hearing this theory all the way back in my junior high days, and I'm actually sort of surprised that it's still around and one of the more popular theories in the present. Unfortunately, I couldn't trace this theory back to an original source, but regardless, I'm still going to dive into it as I feel like it's pretty interesting and plays on our perception of Pokemon's organizations. Everyone knows all about Pokemon's evil teams and their nefarious deeds, but what if Team Rocket's actions were actually slightly misunderstood, and they were trying to do something to help the region? This theory states that in Pokemon Red, Blue, Green, and Yellow, Giovanni, the leader of Team Rocket, is actually a good guy trying to save the world from Mewtwo. I should clarify the term good guy because it's pretty clear in the games that Giovanni is pretty evil, what with having a massive organization trying to steal and sell Pokemon, but this theory says that while he does do all of that, he's also trying to use Team Rocket's power to contain Mewtwo. In the games, Team Rocket steals 2 items, and this theory claims that the 2 items stolen, which were the Silph Scope and Master Ball, were going to be used by Giovanni to stop Mewtwo. In theory, after learning about the ultra-powerful Mewtwo and the amount of carnage it could cause, Giovanni would have allegedly used his organization to steal the Silph Scope in order to catch Ghost-type Pokemon to have a shot at battling Mewtwo, and the Master Ball, which would have been his backup plan in case Ghost-types weren't a match for it. Unfortunately, as we all know, the player from Generation 1 came in and shut down Team Rocket's operation, removing Team Rocket's hold on Silphco, as well as taking back the Silph Scope and Master Ball. Assuming this theory is true, they would have ruined Giovanni's plan to help the region and subdue Mewtwo. Maybe the player is actually the bad guy here. Now, obviously, even though it's an interesting theory, there are some flaws with it. Probably the biggest one is that why would Giovanni get involved with trying to stop Mewtwo? If anything, he would probably try and capture it for his own selfish purposes, but even then, Giovanni and Team Rocket in general show no knowledge of Mewtwo's existence in the games. Surely if Giovanni wanted to capture Mewtwo, whether for good or bad reasons, somebody at Team Rocket would have known about it and said something to the player, right? On top of that, and this is just addressing the idea that Giovanni was doing something selfless and nice, I just can't picture Giovanni ever doing a service for people. In Generation 4, we learn more about Giovanni and his personality, and it's pretty clear that he is incredibly selfish, and I doubt he would ever try to do something as nice as stopping a monster for anybody. We're talking about the guy who abandoned his 10-year-old son here. Looking past some of the bigger flaws of this idea though, it's a pretty interesting theory to think about and does paint Team Rocket in a different light that most evil teams are never seen in. Theory 2. Why haven't Jessie and James been fired yet? I've got to give a big shout out to Ovi for this theory. He's the person I originally heard this idea from and was gracious enough to let me use it in this video, so if you haven't, go check out his channel and his original video on this theory. Have you ever wondered why Jessie James and Meowth haven't been fired from Team Rocket yet? I mean, they mess up 90% of their missions, constantly waste time by following a kid around for a Pikachu, and spend countless dollars making elaborate traps and machines that are always destroyed. Any sensible employer would have fired them already, so why does Team Rocket still allow them to keep doing what they do? Well, it might actually be because Team Rocket feels like it owes the trio something, or more specifically, owes Jessie something. In order to fully dive into this theory, we're going to need to take a look at some supplementary information to the Pokemon anime. In the Birth of Mewtwo CD drama that was only released in Japan, we learned some interesting information about Team Rocket's structure and a couple anime-only members. One person mentioned named Madame Boss is actually the original leader of Team Rocket in the anime and also Giovanni's mother. She's said to have handed Team Rocket over to him and stepped down as leader, although it's possible she still has some sort of influence on the organization. Another character introduced in the CD is a character by the name of Miyamoto. This A-class Team Rocket agent was not only Madame Boss's favorite member, with her taking orders directly from Madame Boss and being described as the ideal image of Team Rocket, but also she was Jessie's mother. Miyamoto was the first person to get evidence of Mew's existence, and when she showed Madame Boss the evidence, she was tasked with finding and capturing Mew. This led her to the Andes Mountains in South America, where she was able to track down Mew, but unfortunately was unable to capture it. An avalanche suddenly fell upon her, and the last thing that's heard from her are screams as the audio cuts out. Her current whereabouts are unknown, but it's presumed that she died from the avalanche. Considering that Madame Boss and Miyamoto were so close and even said to talk about their children with one another, I think it's possible that Madame Boss and Giovanni might be pulling some strings at Team Rocket to allow Jessie to continue being a member out of sympathy for her late mother. Before Miyamoto's disappearance, she talked about how she loved her daughter but just didn't have enough money to provide Jessie with a good home or lifestyle. I think this is where Madame Boss and Giovanni come in, and are trying to fulfill Miyamoto's wish by allowing Jessie and her friends to stay in Team Rocket regardless of how much they screw up, just so that Jessie has a place to call home. One slight issue to all of this that's worth noting is that the time frame for Miyamoto's disappearance and when Jessie joined Team Rocket is pretty large. Miyamoto was caught in the avalanche when Jessie was about 5 years old, and Jessie didn't become a member of Team Rocket until about 10 to 15-ish years after this event. Because of this, it might be kind of a long shot for Giovanni or Madame Boss to remember Jessie and show sympathy after such a long period of time. I personally think it's still pretty likely though. Madame Boss had shown that she did like Miyamoto quite a lot, as well as Giovanni apparently being friends with her. I don't think they'd just forget about Miyamoto or her daughter anytime soon, and would try their best to provide Jessie with a better life in honor of her most likely deceased mother. Theory 3. Coughing was created by Team Rocket. In the Pokemon world, there's quite a few Pokemon that are of human creation. Grimer, Castform, Trubbish, Golett, and Magearna are all Pokemon that were made by humans at some point in time. There's definitely a lot of them, and they're also pretty diverse, what with some being stone protectors, some sentient machines, and some pollution that came to life. While it seems pretty obvious and likely that coughing, and by extension wheezing, were created inadvertently by human pollution, it's never outright confirmed that they originated this way. It's slightly implied by their Pokédex entries that they may have been born from human smog and filth, but the fact that there's not a definitive answer means that their origin is open to theories. One of those theories is that Team Rocket created coughing on purpose. But why exactly would they do that? Well, Team Rocket is always after strong Pokemon, and one of the stronger types in Generation 1 is Ghost-type. Rather than catching a Ghost-type Pokemon such as Ghastly, what if Team Rocket tried to engineer their own as a cheaper and easier substitute to capturing them in the Pokemon Tower? Since Team Rocket has a ton of Poison-type Pokemon, they would have used their Ekans, Zubats, and Grimer's poison gas to try and replicate the gaseous state of a Ghastly. Because this was a man-made Pokemon, they couldn't just suspend the gas particles together with nothing and made makeshift containers for the gas to be held in. Instead of a Ghastly replica, they instead came up with the abomination that is known as coughing. I mean, just looking at its design and Pokédex entries, it totally sounds like it could be something man-made and unstable. It's said that it has the tendency to explode, and perhaps Team Rocket put the hazard marking on it as a way to warn people about how dangerous it can be. There's even more evidence that could support this theory by looking at where coughing are found. In the Generation 1 games and their remakes, coughing is only catchable in two areas, the Pokemon Mansion on Cinnabar Island, and while surfing on the pond in Celadon City in Fire Red and Leaf Green. While at first glance these places seem unrelated to coughing's theoretical origin, they could actually help support it. The Pokemon Mansion is where Mewtwo was created, and as such it would make sense for the scientists and researchers there to be experimenting with other ideas, such as creating other artificial Pokemon. The problem with linking the Pokemon Mansion to coughing's origin in Team Rocket, however, is that it's never stated or implied in the games that Team Rocket had anything to do with the mansion. It's hinted that Mr. Fuji was one of the researchers, but there's never any hints of Giovanni or Team Rocket being involved in any way, which does hurt this theory's probability. The pond in Celadon, however, can be traced to Team Rocket a little bit easier. Team Rocket's secret hideout was underneath the game corner, and assuming they were creating a bunch of coughing down in their labs, then it wouldn't be too far-fetched for a couple of them to float off and find themselves outside by the pond, which is right next door. It's always seemed pretty likely that coughing were a byproduct of humans, and while there are a couple problems with this theory, it is kind of interesting to think that Team Rocket may have tried to manufacture their own Pokemon. And these have been three of, in my opinion, the more interesting theories out there involving Team Rocket. Obviously, all of the theories have issues and small problems, but overall I think that some of them are pretty likely and make a ton of sense. I mean, I honestly can't think of any other reason that Jessie and James wouldn't have been fired by now if not for sympathy from the Team Rocket higher-ups. As always, feel free to share your own thoughts and opinions on these theories in the comments section below. I'm sure I may have missed some info about some of the theories or maybe not explained them the best, so feel free to comment with any corrections or additional info you feel are worth noting about them. Anyways, thanks for watching and I'll catch you later.